Welcome to another techniques video. So this one is on the Nuvo stone drops, which are a brand new product, and if you haven't seen it yet, go and check out my up close video on the Nuvo stone drops where I show you how to put all of these kind of techniques into actual cards, and I also explain a bit more about what the stone drops are and everything. I wanted to show you my swatch book. I'll quickly say, so the stone drops, you've got 8 different colours of them. You have chalk white, you have plum slate, you fiery volcano, gold rush, Lady Liberty, Belgian bluestone, pink granite and Boulder grey as well. So there's 8 different colours. I don't know whether this is like a big difference between them, but I noticed it, so I wanted to share it. I noticed that 4 of them are metallic kind of colours, so when you put them on black and you rub them out thinly, you can still see the kind of drop solution that the texture is within. So this is the pink granite, the Belgian bluestone, the Boulder grey and the gold rush. They are all kind of a metallic-y finish, whereas the fiery volcano, the plum slate and the Lady Liberty are all a glossy finish, and when you rub them thinly onto black, you can mostly just see the texture that is within them rather than actually seeing their colour. Obviously thickly they still show on black, and then the white is kind of like an opaque, so it's not metallic but it's kind of more of a glossy, but you can still see it on black because it's white, if that makes any sense. But if you, I kind of explained it a little bit better in the other video, which I'll link below. So then you can also do my favourite technique of swirling the different colours of drops on top of each other. I wasn't sure whether it was going to work. I did try swirling stone drops on top of normal drops. It didn't look as good, but stone drop on top of stone drop works really nicely, and normal drop on top of stone drop looks really good too. In one of my cards that I showed in the other video, I did a dream drop swirl on top of a stone drop and it looked really cool. So the swirling technique works brilliantly too. Then I wanted to show that obviously you can just use them like normal drops, create a cool pattern with them, but you can also get varying sizes with them. They actually have a larger gauge nozzle than any of the other drops, which kind of sort of more gives out this size of a drop, but if you vary the pressure you can get the different sizes of drops, and even more dramatically you can really vary the pressure and you can still get these tiny little drops that you can achieve with normal Nuvo drops as well. You just got to be a little bit more patient and have a little bit of practice, but you can achieve these tiny drops straight out of the bottle. But if you don't have the dexterity to get the tiny drops straight out of the bottle, but you still want some tiny drops, these ones were created with a little ball tool. So I used one that was about sort of like 3mm diameter, and I just picked up a tiny bit of it in a puddle of the product and then just literally dotted them on, and you get smaller drops. And obviously if you use different size of a ball tool you get different sizes as well. So that's another way of getting tiny drops with these new stone drops if you wanted to. Then I've got quite a few examples of stenciling with them. I'm kind of hoping they make sense. So this was stenciling thickly, and you can kind of see how the kind of like drop material, like, because it's kind of like a texture with inside a normal Nuvo drop. So we'll say that the solution is like a normal Nuvo drop, and you can see because you've got all the texture within there, the texture is staying in the pattern nicely, but the sort of Nuvo drop squidges out underneath the stencil a bit when you're applying it thickly. But if you apply it more thinly, that is less evident. Okay, it's still a little bit messy, but it's less evident. And obviously you're going to use less product if you apply it more thinly. And how I did this was putting the stencil down and rubbing it with my finger to get it to go into all the detail, rather than using a palette knife or a spatula. I was just using my finger. And then showing the same thing on black as well. We did still get some splodges, but using it thinner, you're obviously using less product and you get more of sort of aged or distressed textured look, which I like. Then I was experimenting with what could you mix it with to try and make the like the Nuvo drop solution be less likely to squidge out from underneath the stencil. So this was one of the glossy colours, mixing it with the Nuvo Pure Sheen glitter. That was Red Carpet, that one. You can still see the cool texture of the stone drop, but you now get a glitter in it as well, and it looks different to Glimmer Paste if you were to use that as well, but it's still a little bit splodgy. But if you do the same thing with one of the metallic colours, they seem to be a slightly thicker consistency anyway, because metallic drops are generally a thicker consistency than the gloss drops. So mixing in the normal Pure Sheen glitter with the metallic ones gives the perfect stenciled result, and you still get that stone drop look, but you have a bit of glitter in there as well. So then I was like, well, how can I get it to be perfect for the glossy drops? So like a more perfect look for the glossy drops is to mix it with sparkle dust, which is the finer glitter that Tonic do, and it gives a much cleaner look than, you know, without anything in it. So there's just some ways of using it, using the drops and mixing them with something else to try and give a cleaner stenciled look, but it's not like you have to use them with a stencil, so it was just me experimenting. But and then I also did the white stone drops with some of the black sparkle dust in it as well, so that gives that kind of a look too, which is obviously really nice and sharp and clean, because the white one is kind of a thicker consistency because it's more of an opaque one. Then one of my favourite things is to squish the drops between acetate. So I did that, and I've shown it on the black and the white, and you can see the pink and the white look exactly the same on the black and the white really, but the purple kind of disappears on the black because it's one of the glossy colours, which is sort of more translucent. So I wanted to show the differences between those two. Then this technique has turned out to be one of my favourites to use with these drops. So I've got three kind of examples, and then I'll show you a finished card. So this was sticking an intricate die cut to some acetate and then splodging on the Nuvo drops or the stone drops from the back, and you can really hear that texture that's on there, and you can see the texture. And then once it's dry, you flip it back over to the front and you get this cool textured look through the design. Or again, you can do the same thing, but sticking your die cut to card and then just swirling it so you actually get the textured side on your design. Or you can do this one, which has turned out to be my favourite, which is splodging the drops onto acetate and then using a ball tool to swirl the two colours together. And because you've touched the acetate with the ball tool, you can see it on the smooth side of the acetate, and you get the sort of marbled effect. And I figured this out when I was doing this card, which is my favourite card. You can see the effect on the flowers there, which I really love how it turned out, so that's why I put it in the swatch book as well. But yeah, that's just a really cool, like, marbly technique that you can do with the stone drops. Then this is something that I didn't think was actually going to work, but it does. You can stamp with them as well. I know I try stamping with a lot of different things, and you can stamp with the dream drops too, but look how cool that is, and that texture isn't going anywhere. You can actually stamp and get that cool stone texture look, and you can do it on the black as well, and obviously when you're using the more metallic-y colours, they really show up on the black too. And this was using a stamp that I'd created out of funky foam as well. I don't think you'd really want to do it to your actual real stamps because of the texture of the stone drops. You might like scratch some detail into the stamps that you didn't want to be there. Yeah, so I'd recommend creating your own funky foam stamps from your dies, but you can stamp with it, which is really cool. Then you can also add embossing powder over the top of it. This doesn't look too dramatic here, but on one of the cards I showed in my other video, I added it to some actual drops, and because there was more product there, it's kind of rose and then sunk, and they sort of look like little shriveled up raisins. But yeah, that's just something else you can do to it. You can add some embossing powder. So this is without anything, and that's with some purple embossing powder on it. Then some different like backgroundy techniques. This was putting some blobs of stone drops and love potion dream drops and using like an old credit card or gift card just to scrape them across to create a cool background. And on one of the other cards I've done, I scraped it from one direction and then from the other direction and then put a sentiment on top. Then this is a cool background, which is actually the background from this card, where I took 2 pieces of card. The first piece I just splodged on a load of drops in 2 or 3 different colours, and then for the actual card I actually added in some dream drops as well. And then I took another piece and then stuck it on top and pressed lightly so that they were still in blobby shapes, and then pulled it off quickly. And I've actually got the other one of this tag here to try and show it a bit more. So they were on top of each other. I pressed gently and then pulled off quickly, and then you get that cool dotty pattern on your background. Then this is the grouting technique, and this is one of Tonic's die embossing folders, and I took some of the Boulder Grey and the Belgian Bluestone. I just put a few dots on top of this tag, dragged it across with an old gift card, and it gives this cool like grouted look. This is on the debossed side of the folder, and it just gives, it fills in all the detail. Obviously it colours the background as well, but I really like how it looks, so I did a whole card on that too. Then I have got this one, which looks very splodgy again, because this was me experimenting with what I could mix in with the drops to get a better stenciled look, but I left it in anyway. This was mixing in the Catherine Wheel Nuvo Shimmer powder with the Fiery Volcano drops, so it gives a more intense red look to them. But then you can also take the chalk white Nuvo stone drops and mix it in with the shimmer powders. So this was Solar Flare, and then it was Falling Leaves, and then it was Green Parade, and I actually braided that on to give a cool effect as well. Then this one was watering it down and painting with it. So when you're watering down a product, you're going to be messing with the like chemical structure of it, and so like the binders and things within it aren't going to work as well. So when you water it down like this, when it's dry, you're going to expect some of the texture to fall off because you've watered it down so much that the binders aren't going to keep it stuck to the card. But lots of it does still stay. Some of it does drop off, but a lot of it does still stay. So I think it's a cool technique to do with the drops. And then I took this one step further, and I used some of the Gold Rush and Chalk White, dabbed it on with my fingers to give a sandy effect, and then I used some of the Lady Liberty to sort of draw on some seaweed. So you can use these drops in the same way as I showed with Dream Drops, where you can actually draw with them as well if you want to, and you can really create some cool texture with them too. So I hope I explained everything in that alright. And I hope you enjoyed seeing some ideas of how to use your stone drops as well. Obviously you can just use them in the normal way of just like adding 5 of them or something to a card just to sort of scatter something across the design, but you can also be more experimental with them if you want to as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed all the techniques that I've showed, and don't forget to go and watch the up close video that I also filmed showing you the cards that I made as well. So thank you for watching. Bye!